In a world full of darkness and doubt, God's word shines clear and bright. Step by step, it leads us forward, guiding our hearts in truth and grace. Join us on Lamp and Light Tuesday, this and every Tuesday on YouTube for an amazing teaching section by the man of God, Desmond King Ajadi. Stay blessed, stay enlightened. Solitio Gloria.
Hello everyone, welcome to Lamp and Light Tuesday. As you can see, I'm very pumped up to be on the screens once again. And while I've been absent are reasons beyond my control, and I'll explain why we finally moved to our studios. Yes, there are reasons beyond my control. I couldn't. So it's not an excuse, genuine reasons I couldn't. So now, leaving that aside, let's get into where we left off, right? So we began a session on frequency and then intensity. Frequency and intensity. And like I said before, if your whole Christian faith would actually make sense, or you'd make sense out of your whole Christian faith, for you to have solid basis and foundation on your whole Christian faith, begins from here. The total growth and experiences that you have, if your whole Christian faith would make sense, it all begins from here and has its foundation and roots from this session. All right, so I wouldn't want you to miss. If you haven't, you can go and watch the first video. That was an introductory video, all right, to this. It was titled Frequency and then Intensity. All right, so now let's dive into what we have to share for today, which is frequency. So if you're excited to be here, drop your favorite emoji and welcome everyone once again to Lamp and Light Tuesday. So to begin today's session, we would have to start from the back, and what I mean from the back, I would explain why, and then bring everything back and then point everything I would want to share to frequency. All right, what I'm saying probably might not make sense, but I know I'm saying that. We'll start from the back to the front. So now let's begin. So we are beginning with John chapter 4, verse 1 to 42. There's a whole story there. We are not touching on a full verse, just major points or verses that would make emphasis on, and then point everything back to frequency. And frequency also here basically talking about consistency. All right, consistency in a sense that there is nothing. To give you an example, cite an example here before we dive into what we have to share for today. When you plant a seed, you need to consistently expose it to certain conditions or certain factors for it to experience growth. Growth will not just happen by chance if certain conditions are not favorable, and also favorable in a sense that they are consistently supplied to the seed before you're able to see some changes. That is how come there is a thing as stunted growth. Stunted growth because the growth is not consistent. It has gotten to a certain point and then stopped, or the growth is not really progressive in a sense that probably it moves from 1 to 2, stays at 2 for a while, then moves to 3, stays at 3 for a while, then probably comes down to 1 or 2. You get it? So with this, in this sense, like I said, if your whole Christian faith will make sense, just like a seed, it has to be consistently supplied with certain conditions before you can actually see growth. So same thing applies here in our faith. So now let's start from the back to the front, like I said. So John chapter 4 verse 1 to 42, making certain points, and then we move on. So this whole verse or story is with the Jesus Christ and the Samaritan woman that Jesus Christ met at the well. So Jesus Christ had an encounter with this lady. They spoke at length. They had certain conversations. Jesus Christ asked them certain questions, and then there was a whole lot of things going on there. So I believe if you make time to read, the whole session will actually make sense. It would be clearer. But if you haven't, or you don't know the story, go back to Sunday school, man. Go back to Sunday school. Yeah. That was just by the way. So this is verse 28. So Jesus Christ had an encounter with this lady, like I said. They had a conversation where Jesus Christ asked her, why are your husbands? I've had no husband. The one I'm living with isn't my husband, and all of that, right? So this lady had an encounter with Jesus Christ, and in verse 28, this is where the lady left her pot and then went to the city to tell the people about this Jesus Christ that she met. In a sense that the conversation that she had with Jesus Christ was something that was actually out of her mind. You get it? So verse 28, this lady left Jesus Christ at the well and then went to the city. And then verse 30, the people she met came to Jesus Christ to actually listen to all of these things, all of the stories the lady had said, right? With all of the things the lady told her, the lady told them, they actually came and then wanted to meet Jesus Christ by themselves. This is verse 30. And then verse 39, it says, and the Samaritans of the city believed him. So this verse 39, the Samaritans believed Jesus Christ because of what the lady has said. Like I said, follow me carefully. Verse 39, these people, the Samaritans, believed Jesus Christ because of what the lady has said. Follow me closely. And then verse 42, these Samaritans now said they believed not just because of what this lady had told them, but because of what they had seen for themselves. Follow me closely. First, Jesus Christ encountered this lady. This lady had an encounter with Jesus Christ. I hope you understand what I mean. And then this lady goes back to the city, invites people in to meet Jesus Christ. And then these people said they believe because of what they believe Jesus Christ because of what the lady had told them. Moving downwards, they now believe not because of what the lady had told them, but because they had get to encounter Jesus Christ for themselves. Follow me closely. So now, why are we touching on all of this before we move to frequency? The truth of the matter is, most of us and everyone at all that comes to the faith first hears it from someone. We first encountered Jesus Christ or God first from the lips of someone. And this is where most of us keep our faith level at. From what the pastor has said, from what our Sunday school teacher said, we do not transcend and then move on to the point where we get to know God for ourselves and then get to believe not because of what pastor has said or what our Sunday school teachers or soul leaders has taught us. We remain at the point where we believe because of what someone has said and not because of what we have encountered for ourselves. You realize verse 41 and then 42. It says, and many more believed because of his words. And now they said, and now we believe because we say, and now we believe you're saying because of what we have heard of him for ourselves. So these people moved to the point where they actually believed not because of what they have heard from the lady, but because of what they have seen for themselves. The truth is, most of us get to the point where we delegate our spiritual growth or our Christianity to our parents, probably our spouse, husband, wife. We delegate it to our pastors. We do not really get to or transcend the point where we believe not because of what someone has said. Because most of the times we have questions, we have doubts in our minds. But the thing is, it's because we've not moved or transcended the point where we get to believe and then know this God for ourselves. And then how then do we get to believe and know this God for ourselves? Because we do not, most of the times it's because we do not have a frequent encounter with God through prayer and then the word. How can you believe for yourself if there is no consistency in prayer and then the word? Because one thing that there is, and one thing that I know for sure, and by experience also, that is that everyone has a different path when it comes to the whole Christian journey. Everyone has a different path. God's dealings with each and every one of us would be different. Probably some people would come to the faith and then begin to prophesy from the beginning. Some of us would start and then our whole Christian journey would be dry. There will be no dreams, there will be no encounters. We wouldn't feel spiritual, we wouldn't feel like we are children of God, we wouldn't feel anything. We would have genuine questions. But the thing is, the whole spiritual growth and journey begins from consistency. Like I said, if your whole Christian journey would make sense, it begins and starts from here. So now let's read something from Acts 17:11. It says the Berean church, right? It says they were more honorable than a church in Thessalonica because they received the message with eagerness and examined the scriptures daily to see if what Paul has said was true. They examined the scriptures daily. There was a daily encounter with the word. They examine the scriptures daily. All of these things I'm sharing on has emphasis on growth. Just like every plant and animal needs food and shelter consistently, we have daily encounter with the word. We have to have daily encounter with the word for our whole Christian journey to make sense, for us to have some sort of growth. Because there are some things that honestly will not make sense at the beginning of our faith. You don't feel like a child of God, you don't feel like you are saved, you don't feel like you are born again. Probably from the beginning, even after you were saved, you had some addictions. You were saved, give your life to Jesus Christ. Some people had the addictions fall off, but others still had it there. It's like a newborn babe. Being born again is like you being like virtually, that is you being born again as a spirit being, as a baby. Like we have physical babies now, they pee on themselves, they poo on themselves. So there are some things that when you come into the faith, they might be there from the beginning, but I realize when growth comes in, you begin to have control over what? They're just like the babies, they begin to have control over their bladder. They have control over it, so they are able to control how they pee. So there are some things that when we come into the faith, you have to grow out of them, and the whole growth comes from a place of what? Frequency and consistency in the word and prayer. When you read the Psalm 119, check the whole chapter. It's quite a lengthy one, but when you read it, you get to see and understand the whole psalmist's mindset and approach when it comes to the word. When it comes to the word, you get to see his heart, the way he loved the word. Psalm 119 verse 105, that is where lamp and light Tuesday is coming from. Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. A lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. A light illuminating your path, knowing where to go. How can you have consistent light if you do not visit the word each and every single time? It's like you get to a certain point, your lights are or lamps are off, you don't have to switch it on. You get to a certain point, it's off, on and off, like Nigerian NEPA. I hope you get what I'm trying to say. So the whole consistency and the whole journey of your Christian faith would make sense if frequency is a thing. And for everyone watching me across the world now, we would want to be like the Berean Church, where we search the scriptures daily to see if whatever our pastors have taught us, our cell leaders have taught us, are actually true. And it's something I love about the scripture so much, that they search the scriptures daily to see if everything they were taught were so. To see everything that they were taught were so. They search the scriptures daily. So it is one thing that I would personally want my church to be like the Berean Church. They search the scriptures daily to see what everything we were taught were so. And it's one characteristic that I believe every Christian should have, every believer should have, that we begin to search the scriptures daily, because a lot of ideas, ideologies and mentalities that we have would never fall off if you are not consistent in the word and in prayer. Because believe me, every time you have an encounter with the word, there is a mind changing, a renewal process that is being made. You might not feel like it, just like when you're watering seed every time. You might not see the growth physically, but realize that each and every time when you go back and come, there has been an exponential growth. But when you are watching it daily, every day, you might not see it. But when you take a length of time and then look back, realize that no, there has been some growth. That is how spiritual growth actually works. You might not see it, you might not feel like it, but there are some mental ideologies and characteristics that have been dropped each and every day when you have an encounter with the word. I hope this has blessed you. Be like the Berean Church. So, Gloria.